My name is Ryan Roy. I am a father of a 7-year-old and a 1-year-old boys. No matter how much I want to be a good parent, I'm imperfect. And I have to understand that and accept that. I did not want to become a father simply because I did not want to damage another human being, for lack of a better term. I was abandoned. I grew up without a father. I believe that I'm not the only one who doesn't believe I don't know what the heck I'm doing.
So the big question is this: how are parents like us, who don't have a manual, who are doing the best we can, who feel as though we aren't enough, how are we going to raise healthy, happy children who we are proud of and still keep our sanity in that process? That's the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. My name is Ryan Roy, and welcome to I Don't Know Jack About Parenting, a podcast for parents who are being real with themselves.
Hello, this is episode 2 of the I Don't Know Shit About Parenting podcast for parents. And I'm just winging this. My immediate thought is there's not a good intro. You guys don't know who I am. But, you know, I know if I focus on all of those little things now, this podcast won't even exist. You know, I just need to get this thing moving. I like the concept because I believe that I'm not the only one who doesn't believe I don't know what the heck I'm doing. So if I can just talk about it, y'all can just listen, we'll get something here. And I just want to give the thought process around, I'll straighten this out a little bit. I want to get the thought process around how I even came up with this. Number one, I'll introduce myself just a little bit. My name is Ryan Roy. I am a father of a 7-year-old and a 1-year-old boys for a very long time because I was abandoned by my own father until I was 35 years old. I didn't become a father myself, and even then it was a slight shock to the system. I did not want to become a father simply because I did not want to damage another human being, for lack of a better term. I was abandoned. I grew up without a father. I had a lot of anxiety and challenges around that. And for whatever reason, part of the reason that is, right, is finding the right partner to have a child with so that there is unity in the family. And I hadn't had a relationship that I wanted a marriage in, and there was no way I was going to bring a child into this world without being able to sustain that type of relationship. Until I met my wife, we got married, and the doctors told us that, one, a lot of my friends had gotten girlfriends or things like that pregnant and either had miscarriage or got abortions. And that I never had that mishap. Even though I was in long-term relationships and very sexually active, never had that mishap. So a big part of me was like, maybe my fish don't swim. Fellas listening to this, it's just a reality of it. And then my wife was told at some point that she had like a 5% chance of having children. So when we got married, I was like, oof, kind of hit the lottery. I don't have to have kids. Neither one of us were opposed to it because we're very much in love. And the night of of us getting married, I remember saying, look, let's just have fun. Whatever happens, happens. Not thinking that anything would happen. Well, 6 weeks later, we were pregnant. And my life changed for the better. So that's a little bit about me and how I became a dad. But I also knew I needed to make a shift personally. And we'll get into that in another episode. But fast forward to my son being about 1.5 years old, my firstborn. remember he was running around the house that day, and it was my wife was at work, and I had him that day, and I just remember him reaching into the back of his diaper often. And I jokingly said to him, I said, you might want to stop doing that. You're going to come up with some gold at some point, and you're probably not going to like that. And probably towards 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon, he struck gold. And I was sharing this story with a friend of mine recently, and he's like, man, you got to tell stories like this. And he goes, because it's great. I said, okay. So I'm telling you guys now. So as he reached down, and this is a parenting moment, I don't know shit, as he struck shit or gold, he's like, ah, and he has his hand and it's full of poop. It's full of shit. And I'm like, oh man, and he happened to be in his bedroom at the time, and I ran over to him really quick because I don't want him smearing it anywhere. I don't want to have to do any more cleaning than I have to do. I grab his hand and I start walking him towards the bathroom. And under my breath, but obviously not enough under my breath, realize he's starting to talk and mimic words and things. I'm holding his hand, I'm walking him, and I literally say the word under my breath, shit. And he looks up at me. And I tell you, this is the clearest word he's ever said to this point in his life. And he looks up at me and without hesitation says, shit. And now I'm thinking to myself, double shit. Because my kid just said shit. And the last thing I need is for his mom to come home and his new word of the day is shit. So what do? And any wise parent would do, or at least I think, is we don't want to draw attention and say, don't say that word. Because whenever you say don't in front of anything to a child, all they hear is everything afterwards. So if I said don't say that word, he would hear say that word. If I say don't run in the house, kids can tend to walk in the house. If I say don't spill the milk, and I say this in my book, I have a book called Be the Dad You Wish You Had. It's 40 power lessons becoming a powerful dad. And I always say tell kids what you want them to do. So if you want a kid to not walk or not run in the house, you don't say don't run, because they could skip, they could crawl, they could roll, they could stomp, they could do anything but run. But more importantly, tell them what you want them to do. So you tell them to walk. So anyway, I have him. He said his first curse word. Luckily, to my knowledge, or at least in front of me, it has been the last curse word he has said, and he's now 7 years old. But those are the parenting moments that happen, right? I can beat myself up for saying shit. I can ignore it. So what I basically did was just cleaned him up. I didn't acknowledge that. I chuckled inside. Had a lot of fear inside around whether he's going to repeat this newfound word later on in the day in mom's presence. But for those of you watching, that was someone who just ran the stop sign and almost caused an accident, and it wasn't me. That's it. You're going to have those parenting moments, and in that moment, luckily, I think I did the right thing. But I don't know about parenting. I didn't know about it then. I don't know about it now, because every new stage, I'm learning something new. And every new stage, I'm having a new challenge. And as soon as I think I have something licked, or that my kid is doing, and I'm doing the right things, I get thrown another curveball. No matter how much I read or how much I coach someone else, as my profession is a life coach, no matter how much knowledge I have, there's a lot that plays into this thing we call parenting. our emotions about how much we love this child and how we, listen to this, listen to what I'm about to say, I'm catching myself, how much I don't want to mess up. Let's not focus on what I don't want to do. Because what do we hear? What does the universe hear? What is don't mess up. Oh, mess up. So no matter how much I want to be a good parent, I'm imperfect. And I have to understand that and accept that. And I suggest that all y'all accept that for what it is you are imperfect and you're going to make mistakes. Here's the thing about any mistakes. I tell my 7-year-old all the time, and I'm starting to tell the 1-year-old even though he doesn't fully understand. Mistakes are good. And I always ask my son as he makes a mistake and he may get frustrated. I said, mistakes are good. Why? He goes, because we learn from them, Dad. And that's the lesson I got from my mom. Mistakes are good as long as we learn from them. If we keep making the same mistake over and over and over again, now we have a challenge. But we should be learning from our mistakes and not making those same mistakes. So that's my thought. That's how this podcast is coming about, because of that story. I was sitting there saying I should tell this story about shit on a podcast. And then I said, but I don't really, and I remember thinking, man, why would anybody listen to me? I don't know shit about parenting. What a great title for a podcast. The I don't know shit about parenting podcast for parents that don't know shit. And I think that's all of us. And if anybody thinks they know any more, they're lying to themselves. Now, I've read some books. I've implemented some strategies. I like to think I'm doing an okay job. But I tell you what, I still don't know shit. Because no matter how many books, they're written by somebody else's experience. I can share my experiences. I can share my strategies. But guess what? Unless you have my life experience and want to implement those types of strategies based on your life experience, they may or may not work for you. But as we share stories, and the more stories we hear, and the more stuff that starts to resonate with us, and if it worked for somebody else, we can try those things. So that's my goal, is to share with you some of the strategies, parenting strategies that I've used that have worked. I'm going to share with you some of my biggest mistakes and failures as I see them as a parent. I'm going to tell you some funny stories, like the gold that was found that day. And I'm going to probably come on here and get pretty vulnerable with you every so often and tell you how I am being a complete failure in the moment, because that's real. So thank you for listening to my kind of intro / second episode of I Don't Know Shit About Parenting podcast. We'll see you in episode 3.
Do you want to be the dad you wish you had? If so, go get my free book, Be the Dad You Wish You Had, at BeTheDadYouWishYouHad.com. Inside, you'll find my most effective 40 tips to quickly and easily transform yourself into the ideal dad. Go to BeTheDadYouWishYouHad.com now and get it while it's free.